my movie recollection with Vincent Cloud,
And John Nemitz.
and I think this is an anniversary edition of a movie. It's the oh my gosh, 40th anniversary of Nas. Oh my gosh, it's off to a bad start. What is it?
Nausicaa of the Valley
Nausicaa.
of the Wind.
Yes, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, released in 1984. That hits close to home because I was released in 1984.
Oh man, you never got recalled?
No, I wasn't. But let's talk about this piece of work, not this piece of work. It was made by Hayao. Oh my gosh, what's his name, John?
Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, and this is we chose this because I mean you knew of this before I did, and I barely watch any animes. I think this might be, I don't know, my third ever, possibly.
Oh wow, yeah. So I'm a Miyazaki completionist. Um, I've watched all of Satoshi Kon's works and like a couple other random ones here or there, but like other than that, I've never watched any like anime TV shows, and it's a pretty narrow band of like anime movies that I've seen.
Yeah. So this was new for me. But I knew I was like, well, anime is known for its animation, its illustrations. But then I've heard of this guy for so long now, and I think my family really like his stuff. So I was like, all right, let's check it out. Um, so I don't know, should we just get into it by the plot?
First, I gotta ask, subs or dubs? What'd you watch?
Subs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I remember we had talked about this beforehand that this is the one that like I guess shortly after its release in the 80s, it got an American release called Warriors of the Wind, and they cut out like at least 20 minutes of like footage, and then um from what I understand, the dubs are really bad. Like they kind of changed story points, and like it just did not match up with the original at all, to the point where like Miyazaki was basically like, I will never let that happen again. And he took way more like ownership and made sure that, like for future translated versions, nothing was actually cut from it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is the same one or not, but there's a video about Patrick Stewart played Lord something.
Yeah, so from what I understand, that's a more recent
Oh, okay.
um yeah, overdub that was actually done by Disney, and that I think is pretty decent from what I hear. It's just the original 80s one that's pretty bad, I guess.
Okay. Oh, so they dubbed the uncut version though, right?
Yeah, since then they have. Yeah, and that's
Okay.
what the yeah, that's the Patrick Stewart one.
Okay. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Oh, do you know who they played the lead? Um,
Oh, I don't remember right this second.
Nausicaa. Well, anyways, I'm thinking like when I heard about that, I'm like, man, who's they got some big shoes to fill because I really like, not only do I like the character a lot, but I also like the performance. When she gets angry, you could hear the anger. You could, the tones that she has to do. I totally bought into it. Yeah, great performance.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Allison Lohman,
Who the hell's that?
some person.
Alison Lohman. Lohman. Hmm. All right. So they got Patrick Stewart for like a nothing role. Well, it's not a nothing role, but like it's all on Nausicaa. Like the
And
other roles are okay.
Yeah, Uma Thurman, I guess, did Kushana, who's like
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
the enemy princess.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Shia LaBeouf played Asbel.
Oh no. Uh,
Oh, Edward James Olmos was in it.
almost. He was almost in it, man.
Almost.
Oh man. Uh, well, what other kid? Oh, who played Obaba? The
Oh yeah,
old
good
lady,
question.
you know?
Oh, Tress McNeil. So she does
Who's
a bunch of like Simpsons and like Futurama voices and stuff like that.
oh cool. That's sweet.
Yeah, I
Well,
could see her doing a pretty good job of that.
like talking in Marge's voice or something. I know she doesn't do Marge. She probably does what the teacher, Miss Applegate or whatever the fuck.
Crabapple. I know I think she does like crazy old late like cat lady voice and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that
yeah.
that works. Yeah. Um, yeah, and then again, I want to know uh, if you could see it. Who plays what's his name? Kurotawa. That's that second in
Chris
command.
Sarandon.
Dude, I love Chris Sarandon. Holy shit, that's awesome. Yeah, I love Kurotawa because he's just like he's kind of detached, even though there's
Yeah.
war and shit. He's just kind of making quips and stuff, and like he was totally willing to kind of take over when he thought Kashana was dead or whatever. But then he was easily able to like, oh well, I guess I'm working for her again, you know?
Yeah. Well, easy come, easy go.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let's try and get into the plot, or I kind of have it scene by scene, but we can brush through some stuff if we feel like it. And we could
Sure.
jump forward and stuff. That's fine. So let's start off with the mysterious man travels through the spore-ridden post-apocalypse.
Yeah, and
Um,
like one of the first things you see is like this weird bird foot hitting the ground or
yeah,
talon. Is that what they're called?
yeah. Talons.
Yeah.
Um, looks very much like the T-Rex. I wonder why. Dinosaurs and birds. So
Yeah.
yeah, he checks out this windmill and it's kind of messed up because he like kicks open the door and it's all full of that spore stuff and it looks like a family of skeletons huddled together. Did you
Yeah.
notice that? Yeah, right away I'm like,
And
holy
like there's
shit.
just like a lot of like skulls and like skeletons and stuff around like in the very opening of the movie.
Yeah, this is going to be called the Sea of Decay, right? It was like 1,000 years after the collapse of civilization, and I think they show glimpses of the giant warriors, which is amazing. I almost was thinking about having that as my background, where there's like a line
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like in the opening credits with the
yeah,
like all the cool tapestry artwork and stuff, like you can tell it's like portraying the history and the legends and the prophecies or whatever. And then intercut with like the weird shadow giants or whatever. Like as far as like that's I have no idea what they are at that point.
yeah. Both the opening credit and the ending credits, they keep telling the story.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Okay, so we get to learn about the Sea of Decay, and it's just off the bat, it was cool. It kind of reminds me of the Nothing from um la, 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 la. What's that? Oh, the Never-Ending Story. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have, but don't remember much from it.
Yeah, it's like a fantasy world, but then there's something that's like slowly taking over the world, and it kind of sounds like it could totally be this. And I think no, Never-Ending Story came out the same year. So is it by coincidence or maybe depends on what was written first?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I know Miyazaki based this on a manga, like a graphic novel that he also wrote. And um like this is his first movie that is based on like his own ideas and like that he wrote. He did one other movie that was more based on like an existing character. But then yeah, he I think he started writing a manga with hopes of creating it a movie out of it eventually. And he started writing that in 81. So
Hmm.
those ideas were already out there. And this is just like, I guess, a small part of like the graphic novel.
Okay. Yeah. I know, I believe Never Ending Story is based on a book too, but I have no idea. Uh, but still a great idea. Let's get into the glider and our main character, how she's going to be. First of all, this glider is like one of the coolest things in movies that I've seen in a while. Like I'm a fan of flying. Like that's a wish. I wish I could fly.
Oh
And
man,
this
you're gonna
glider was
love
cool.
Miyazaki then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he's obsessed with like flying machines. Um, his dad was I he either designed aircraft or at least some part um worked in building them and then had very like upsetting like regrets about how they were then used in war, basically.
Oh
So that's like
shit.
a big theme in a lot of his work then.
Oh, kind of like they debate about using the giant warriors, kind of like that too. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that too for sure.
okay, so after I watched this movie and I'm like, oh my God, I loved Nausicaa. And I was like, man, is there a sequel? Like I kind of want to see her in more stuff. And then this article was like, okay, this guy, this director, all his movies are the same. It's all about like, these awesome women and it's nature versus like industry or something like that, And they just named off all these tropes, I guess. But I'm like, well, they sound like cool tropes. I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean I wouldn't say all his movies are like that, but it's definitely a repeating theme in multiple of them for sure.
Oh, I had to. So this is our introduction to Nausicaa, and she's got the mask, she's climbing around, and then she scavenges and finds some stuff. This, I believe, that J.J. Abrams ripped off for The Force Awakens,
Oh, oh,
and
yeah, I could see
yeah,
that.
right. Abrams is not original. Like he's a future hate on a totally different podcast. I don't care for this guy. He always is just stealing other people's styles and ideas. And yeah, immediately I was like, this is that would be Rey on Force Awakens.
Hmm.
Yeah.
On
Okay.
another note, the first time I watched it, I'm like, is she wearing pants? Because like her pants are like um the same color as like her flesh tone, so it's like
Oh.
is is she wearing like really high socks and like a skirt? But like, oh, okay, never mind. That's just what color they are. But I
What?
guess you didn't have that thought at all apparently. So
No, I never looked. That's crazy. I was kind of thrown by her orange hair, her red hair.
uh-huh.
Yeah. No one else has any kind of hair that outside of brown and black, you know?
That's true.
Did her dad have, well, he had gray hair, I guess. Yeah.
Did the mailman have
Uh, okay, so she finds an ohm, which we're gonna have so many of them. Those are those giant ass bugs, but she finds the shell, takes the eye, and I just love the fact that the next shot is just her under the shell, under the eye, while the pollen or whatever just kind of falls like snow. I'm like, she's so at one with nature, you know? Like,
Yeah, and like the nature there is just so cool looking. Like it's like your background there. Everything's just like fuzzy and like with different kind of fungus stuff and mossy and um looks like it would look really cool under a black light.
yeah,
There's just
Avatar. I wonder where you got this idea. Damn it. So I found it interesting that we start off with such scary shit where the guy is like, oh my God, it's a skeleton family. And then we cut to her in surrounded by poison, like she acknowledges it. She's like, "Oh, I can't take my mask off," but she still admires it. And this is going to be like a huge thing throughout the movie, her love for nature and how she talks to the insects, where it's like that's very Native American to me. Like we were always like, "Oh, you say this or whatever," you know? And that also is the way she communicate, soothes the savage beast of the Ohm in the next scene. And then she also kind of how she kind of hypnotizes the evil bad guys too. She kind of does certain things to communicate. I don't know. There's so much stuff in this movie that I was like, oh, I'm very surprised. This is
Yeah,
nice.
like I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but like when she treats like the enemy princess woman the same way she treated like the scared little squirrel, fox squirrel thing, like um was I thought like pretty cool and condescending. But like she didn't mean it that way at all. It's just like that was like the best way she thought to like deal with the situation.
Well, I see what she straight up says, you're just a scared fox cat or
Yeah.
whatever. And Kashana was just kind of like, how dare you and stuff. Yeah, we could kind of brush through that scene. Oh, we get the Ohm chasing what we assume to be known as Lord oh my gosh, I'm so bad. Lord Yupa. She throws that explosion thing that kind of hypnotizes the bug, and then she soothes it with like these wind things. Um,
Yeah, like she spins them around and they make like a humming sound.
yeah, that's all good stuff. And then, they meet up right outside the village, and that's where he's got the fox squirrel in his pocket.
Yeah, it looks like a
Yeah.
Pokemon or something.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Did everyone rip off this movie? I mean, I think so. Jesus. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is the part where she lets him bite her finger, and then
Mhm.
she stays so calm and still so loving and supportive that he's like, you could just see him in the eyes, like, well,
All right. Then he lets go and like just like licks the wound.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it was great stuff. Let's see here. So they get into the village. Uh, they ask Lord
And
Yupa if she could name the baby. Huh?
oh yeah, that happens first. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, like yeah, he's clearly like a returning elder that people highly hold in high esteem and like they've literally been waiting on him for a lot of their ceremonial stuff, it seems like.
Yeah, that's cool. John, do you know, like, with your own religion or whatever, or other people, like, where you have someone, an older person, name a baby? Or is that just like the Godfather thing? Or,
Um, yeah, I don't know of anything like that in like in my culture growing up. Like basically, the parents choose the names and um the like the godparents are there to um like literally like try to keep the child on the straight and narrow, and then also historically like if the parents were to die in a tragic accident, then like the godparents would then take the kids. But I mean that also has to be filled out through legal paperwork and whatnot.
yeah, okay. Yeah, the naming thing is interesting because for traditionally through our church or whatever you want to call it, you got to give like tobacco and some other things to the it's not the medicine man, it's the head of the lodge. So whoever's like the high priest or whatever, and then they take like a couple days or something like that to think of a name for the kid. So yeah, so that's the closest thing I ever heard outside of my own tribe. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're asking him to give that kid a name. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is interesting. So then does it like have the same dynamic where like the child doesn't have a name until that happens, or is there um like a ceremonial name and a common name or something like that?
Yeah, I think it would be back then. I think they would have a kid and they're like, oh, well, let's go give some whatever to the leader and he'll come up with a name, I think. Be because nowadays, hey, your name is Vincent Dean Cloud. I'm like, what's Dean stand for? Like, we don't know. Your dad just chose Vincent Dean as soon as he heard that you were a boy. I'm like, oh, thanks. So, but so years later, when my stepdad was interested in, or he was part of the lodge, then he's like, well, let's get Vince a name, an Indian name. So yeah, that's when they came
Oh,
back
okay.
and they're like, your name is this. So like, I think that's what would have happened back then. You know, it's all
Yep.
up. But I think it's interesting that like, what do they think about? How do they come up across a name? They just sit there and meditate or you know, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, especially when, they're presumably naming like every child in the village.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna like run out eventually.
Well, he probably is like, considering I'm giving this marriage about 2 years tops, let's see. He maybe they just consider what the father's personality is and what the mother's personality is and kind of get something out of that. I don't know.
And I've been
Uh,
doing this, like family research stuff, and like back in Pomerania, it seems like there was like six boy names that were used, and everyone is just like different combinations of those names.
what is your middle name?
August.
I never knew that. I never asked. That's
I
crazy.
never knew I never knew you were a dean either, so we're even.
I mean, August is cool. Dean is like the dean of schools or
Be
Jimmy
doing the
Dean.
dean scream.
Is that community?
No, that was oh, which election was it? There was Howard Dean, and he got like too excited on a hot mic, and like that basically just ruined his chances of being president. It was the weirdest thing.
Is that his cry of like yeehaw or something like that? Was it that guy?
Yeah, it was like, yeah, but like for some reason that upset everyone, and like he just had no chance after that.
It's such a weird thing to have that alter your political life.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
bizarre.
God. Ugh. Anyways, Jesus Christ. Lord Yupa, with Nausicaa, they go to check out her dying father, Jill, I think his name is. And there's Obaba next to him. That's the blind old lady who's quick with the quips. I don't know. She's uh but
And the
she
folksy
tells
wisdom.
yeah. Okay, so I need to know though, because she explains the legend of like the someone with blue robes descending from golden wheat. Does she believe that, or she just knows of the legend?
Yeah, that is ambiguous for sure.
Yeah,
Like she certainly doesn't seem to be like pushing any agenda towards the legend at all. It's just like, oh yeah, there's this legend that exists, but um she
yeah.
doesn't seem to be guiding people, at least not directly.
Yeah, because it's almost like a joke. Because she's like, "Oh, Lord Yupa is destined to do this for eternity or some shit," and that's
Yeah.
why it's brought up. So, because I think that the dad believes in it more than she does. I don't know. But of course, jumping to the end, that's what kind of made it stand out. Where she's like, I thought it was bullshit. I thought it was a goddamn legend too." Um. Okay, so that night though, a plane is falling. Like she gets in her glider and this is a crazy part for the movie because she sees the princess right before it goes crashing down. And to me, I'm like, oh, that's horrible. Like that really stuck out in my mind. Seeing
Yeah.
someone right before they get into a horrible crash. You have no idea who they are. It's just ugh, so weird. So yeah, she goes over to the wreckage, and the lady is
Well,
Lestel
yeah, and like
of
we should say
Pajit.
like the reason the plane is crashing is because there's like insects all over it, like giant maggot looking things just all over like the the front like windscreen and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they're shooting them. And throughout this movie, though, there's going to be a big emphasis on don't use your guns on the bugs.
Yeah, and like when she sees the insects, like she says like, "Oh, they must have landed somewhere and killed a bunch of insects." And like at that point she was kind of like blaming them for the situation they're in, but she was still like wanting to help them, but just kind of reframing what was going on.
Yeah, she really she's very much like, how dare you, and like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, she
She's a
finds
real
Lestel.
Greta Thunberg.
Wow. I mean, this is very pro-environment movie for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. And Greta was born way after this, right? She's a youngin', isn't she?
Yeah.
She's definitely not 40. Well, I'm not 40
Oh.
yet either, but it was still. Um, okay, so anyways, Lestel, she's like, oh, I'm Lestel, I'm the princess of Pajit or whatever. And she finds her in chains. Like, so she was a captive. And she's like, just, before I leave this world, burn the cargo. And so,
Actually, and like I feel like right away they even before she got on the glider, didn't they recognize the ship as being like Fulmikian or whatever? Like whatever from whatever village or city or whatever. So
yeah,
then when yeah, then knowing that okay, she's a prisoner from Pejite on this other culture's ship, so like tells you there's a lot going on there, even though we don't understand any of it at that point.
yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, I have a lot of questions. But there was one part where she was like undoing her shirt and then she
Yeah,
stopped.
that was weird. Like, yeah, she held on it like she was really like either considering like reefing it open or ripping it or something, and then she just like stopped and like calmly like then buttoned it up.
Yeah, very. I was like, I have so many questions.
Like, did she? I don't know if she was like, oh, maybe like there's still time to do CPR, and then like, oh, there's no, she's gone. Like, there's no saving her, so no point in like, you know, removing the dignity of the body or that's how I ended up taking it.
Initially, because I watched this movie twice, the first time I'm like, is she is she the only girl she's ever seen before? I raced through my mind. I'm like, no, that's stupid. Like Obama, she's a girl. Um, so anyways, does she just die right then and there, or does
I thought so.
okay. Yeah, because later on, the brother, a spell or whatever, he's like, "Oh, you soothed her pain." So I'm like, "Oh, did she fucking put a sword through her, or was she just there for her when she
Oh
passed?"
yeah, I see what you mean. I had that same thought. But yeah, I think it was just she soothed her in her last moments is how I took that.
Yeah, that's what she is. She soothes. Oh, I love this character, man. Like, give me some ASMR of her talking.
Did we mention though that Listel said you should burn the cargo in the ship?
Yeah, yeah, and she was like Nausicaa was like, "Oh, I'm sure, trust me, it's all burning or whatever." She didn't know she meant that fucking giant meatball or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck.
That
Oh,
pulsating, veiny, yeah, meatball thing.
it's so gross. She should have been way more specific, you know. Uh,
There's
she's
going to
like,
be a thing on that ship that's the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. That's what I'm saying you should burn.
and didn't they say like it's too heavy to carry? Was that
Yeah,
why they crashed too?
yeah, they said like it was so heavy even our biggest ship couldn't handle the load or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So the soldiers find another live insect, but this is just repeating the themes. But she calms the insect down, brings it back to the forest. But there's that one moment though where there's that lone ohm outside of the forest, and I'm like, was he just waiting for that one bug to come back? Because after that he does turn around. That was weird.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, yeah, they
Car
don't really show much after that. At that point, it just then switches to all the other ships coming, right?
Yes, yes. On second viewing, I was like, oh my God, is this the one baby ohm that she had to turn over years ago? I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh shit. That would have been great, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, they should have tagged it.
Okay, so the villagers, they're looking for spores anywhere they can find them. Apparently you cannot let these things live on. They'll just spread. So they're like going around and trying to burn it and stuff. That's when
Torching them all.
yeah, they finally discover that I think it's Lord Yupa. He's like, oh, this is a giant warrior. This is not good. Um, that's when the Tolmekia invade, and right away, like if they're trying to say, oh, we come in peace, we're here to unite, you fucking that's the first person you kill was the King
Yeah.
Jill. Yeah, that was nuts. Okay, so it's crazy because that's when Nausicaa jumps in there and wants to fight everyone, and then Lord Yupa
And
stops.
but yeah, but even before that, like she's like the best warrior ever apparently because she like single-handedly takes out like 4 or 5 guards basically who I mean they weren't like the full soldiers or anything, but presumably they were there to, protect the people as they went in and attacked the king.
Yeah, and doesn't her sword cut through my the lovable wise ass Kuratawa? His sword just like gets cut and he's like thrown to the wall.
Yeah, like she didn't even have a sword, wasn't it just like a staff?
I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah, I was gonna say before, like, are there tools like for the people in that village, presumably made out of the shell of ohms, and
Yep,
that's maybe why everything's so strong?
yep, that's what it was. Yeah. I think there's a line too. All right. So yeah, but anyways, Lord Yupa stops her mid plunge with a sword. Her sword is in his hand for fucking ever.
Yeah. Like, let me stop this with my wrist.
Yeah,
And
oh
then
my
like to the
gosh.
point where as she's standing there, like his blood is like dripping down it and like falling off the hilt.
Oh man. Okay, so yeah, Lord Yupa's like, hey, we should probably just don't fight, just let them do what they need to do. We'll have to regroup and go on from there. So uh let's see here. Kashana introduces herself. She's the princess of these Talmekia people. I'm just gonna call them. Can I just call them the bad guys? Even though it's like, oh, who's right and who's wrong? I'm like, oh, these guys are wrong. And then her funny friend Kurotawa, she's like, okay, what we want to do is unify the lands, and we're going to destroy this for the Sea of Decay finally with our secret weapon, and like they have no choice really, like they have to surrender. Um, Obaba says like, oh, people have been trying to destroy the Sea of Decay for years, like it's not gonna work because what happens is the ohms get in such a rage that they can't be stopped. They can't, like
Right.
they'll starve to death. And then when they die, wherever they die, that's where the fungus starts to grow out of them, and that's just more Sea of Decay. Yeah.
But
Um,
they did not take that advice to heart, I will say.
I'm just waiting to use the joke. Thanks, Obama. I don't know where it applies yet.
Yeah, she never messed up.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Okay, so the plan is they're going to Kuratawa or Kashana princess. She's going to take Nausicaa and five hostages of their choosing to go to Pajit. Meanwhile, Kuratawa, the evil dude, he's in charge of bringing back the giant. So, so they, yeah, they're all going to take off in planes. The three guys or the five hostages that she chooses, are they all specific? Because I feel like they're in this movie a lot. They're like funny old men or something.
Yeah, like um I only know of only one of them by name,
Me Too?
the Mito, yeah. Um the Edward James Olmos.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the one
Um
with the bad eye patch, right? Is he the one?
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I know like later on when they're actually like traveling, they just make a comment like, "Oh, you picked a fine bunch to go with you." Like they're just kind of old, feeble, or not feeble, but decrepit, and yeah,
Yeah, the one guy's always complaining about his back. It's like
yeah,
aching back. But before they leave that night, Lord Yupa finds Nausicaa's secret garden. It's like this non-poisonous room that she's made, and apparently it's like there's a
deep in the
connection.
underground.
Yeah, but it's going to. She talks about like, oh, these are non-poisonous from the Sea of
Yeah,
Decay,
like
the forest.
she grew spores of like the same poisonous plants, but because she was growing them with this pure well water, they were apparently safe. And I mean, she was clearly spent a lot of time with them without a mask and she seems fine.
Yeah, I love this line though that she has. She in regards to what happened, because she's like, I was trying to work on a cure for my father, but it's too late for that. But she says, I don't know what my rage will do. I don't want to kill anyone or something like that. And yeah, like she acknowledges, like, yeah, I killed all those fuckers in that room, like really quick.
Yeah.
So again, I like that she is aware of her rage and she doesn't want to use it. She's willing to fight, but she doesn't want to kill and stuff like this. She's very anti uh killing, and I just I dig this chick, man. She's great. There isn't a sequel to this.
No, not a yeah, I don't think he's ever done a direct sequel to anything. I mean, a lot of them are as we mentioned thematically
Oh,
similar,
right.
but
Yeah,
never carries on like the same characters.
man. Not even a Nausicaa 1.5. Where they go back.
I think you should watch Princess Mononoke next.
Yeah.
She's definitely a different character. She's she's definitely like more vicious and violent, but there's a lot of the same themes in that one.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard of that. I think it's like number one is always Spirited Away. I hear about that all the time and see stuff for it. But then it's like Princess Mononoke and then something else. With a Howling Castle or some shit.
Oh,
I don't
Howl's
know.
Moving Castle
Yeah, it's that one. All right. Oh, the kids give her Chico nuts before she takes off on the plane, and she
and a whole lot
promises.
of them.
Yeah. Uh, there's all these little nice little moments, like when they're taking off in the plane, the villagers are running alongside, like, you better take care of our princess. I really like that. I don't know why. I'm like, am I just a giant softy in my nearing my 40s?
But not there yet.
Yeah, yeah. Fucking children run along planes. All right. Okay, so the planes are going to be attacked by the lone Pajit gunship, who's going to be the introduce our character.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's just like melting through these enemy ships like butter. Like they do not hold up to this gunfire at all, it seems like.
Yeah, just one guy. And like you hear that the Talmakia are like a military state. Like, how?
Yeah.
Your planes are horrible. Okay, so all the planes start to get destroyed. The plane that was attached, holding all the hostages and people, that gets attached and lowers. And then Nausicaa and Quito, they escape, or they're about to escape from the giant plane because there's a smaller one, but she chooses to help Kashana escape with them, the evil princess.
Yeah, there's like a moment where like she comes out and they're like looking at each other, and then she's just like, get in here or whatever, like come along.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I never would have, but that's why Nausicaa is cooler than me. Okay, so smile. Oh, here's another fucking weird ass scene. I mean, it's cool. So they fly down to find the barge with their hostages and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, release your cargo." And they're like, "Hey, we can't hear you. Hey, what's going
Yeah.
on?"
Yeah. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. So she's like, "Hey, turn off the engine." She takes off her mask and like politely and smiley is like, "Hey,
Yeah,
turn your
like
cargo
gives him a
off."
charming smile.
She's all charm. Like
Yeah.
that's her power.
And
Yeah.
like I think they literally said like, well, she seems calm and happy, so let's just do what she says and we'll be fine.
That's terrific. I love that.
And she's like, I
Um
inhaled.
uh okay, so they land and that's when Kashana shows up and she pulls the gun and all the guys were like, "Why would you save her?" Oh my gosh. And that's where she's like, "You're a scared fox squirrel."
Yeah. Oh man, I forgot to mention before, like, when the fighter pilot was like coming at them, like she just like stand up top with her arms out and yelled like no more killing.
Yes, that's what
And
threw him off.
yeah, that's what threw him off. And yeah.
God damn, that's cool. And then while we're talking about the Pajit fighter, she's looking directly at the sun when she sees
Oh yeah. That and
awesome
like that
shot.
like the yeah, before like they don't even know they're in any danger, and then he just comes straight out of the sun, basically.
So cool. Okay, so while they're there, that's when the Ohms show up out from under the water, and that their golden little feelers come out, and that was cool. They're kind of like, "Oh, what's up with this chick that everyone seems to like?" And that's when you kind of get the hint of her mind. You get like a golden field, and then like a child kind of chant
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah, and you like you can't tell, is it a vision? Is it a memory? Like you're not exactly sure what's going on.
And then all of a sudden, so they leave them behind, but then they grow red. All their eyes go red, and we're told that that's when they're angry and stuff. So apparently that's because Nausicaa's like, "Oh, that guy, the Pajit fighter, is alive." So she goes to find him. Um, she tells them to like, "Hey, if I'm not back in an hour, just head back to the valley or whatever." So, oh, here we go. So the guy is being attacked by bugs, but he takes a leap of faith off the cliff. Those gliding bugs, those long
Oh yeah,
flying
like the
bug.
flat ones.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
awesome. Those are really cool. It reminded me of like uh Asian dragon, their idea of
Hmm.
dragons. Yeah, that was cool. But then so the both him and her, they get the glider gets hit. They fall in the quicksand.
But
This
yeah,
is yet
she like catches him in her glider, and
yes.
then yeah, but then they ended up falling.
You could see, well, it was great because within that same shot, you could see the tail, the end coming up to hit that wing. And I
Yeah.
remember I was looking at it, I'm like, it's gonna hit your wing. And sure enough, it's crazy.
Oh shit, she should have listened to you.
Yeah, I was very vocal in this movie. Yeah, I was completely swept up. So they fall into that quicksand, And right away, I'm like, Rise of Skywalker. Fucking J.J. Abrams ripped that fucking part off too. Oh my gosh. So we're finally going to get the dream that we were hinted at from her childhood. And that's where her father's like, hey, come here on this horse. Mom's here. We got to go and do this thing. And what they want is the bug she's been hiding, the baby Ohm. And the image
Yeah,
of
and
all
like
those
it
hands,
has just the hands, like it's just such like when you're a little kid, you just see all these adults coming at you with their hands and stuff, and it's yeah,
that was
very affecting.
yeah, and like the way they're riding off into the sunset, the way he's holding the bug kind of away from him, and like that really struck a chord with me. I was like, oh God, like they're gonna
Don't
kill that
don't
thing.
kill it.
Yeah,
But we don't know what happens to it for sure.
I know. I really want to pretend that single ohm that was hanging out before.
Yeah.
That's it.
Even if not, it seems like their culture, like, okay, it's not cool to be hanging out with these things, but they know how dangerous it is to kill them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they didn't kill it, John. Oh my, I'm starting to feel so much better. Holy shit. All right, so she wakes up, and this is the whole scene where a spell of Pajit, he they're in the underground petrified forest. This whole thing is so good. Uh, we could explain what it looks like and what they talk about while they're in it, because it's a nice little like respite from the rest of the story while they're under here. Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
um, yeah, like they're underneath the Sea of Decay, yet, they both find themselves not wearing masks and being fine, which they never would have
Standing within
expected.
6 feet of each other.
Too soon.
Yeah. But yeah, she's like, oh, it's actually purifying. Like there's the purification that they go through and stuff.
Yeah, like she somehow figures out that the sand is grains of petrified wood, and that's like responsible for the purification of the water and stuff.
Yeah, she's like, that's the same water that I use to grow my garden, the secret
Yeah.
garden. Aspel, he's like, hey, that the girl that you cared for, that was my twin sister, Latarian or whatever the fuck her name was. I don't know.
Lestel.
Lestelle, yeah. Latarian. It's like an evil guy from like Game of Thrones, I think. Latarian.
Sounds like it.
All right, so again, we're stuck with this guy and this girl, and I'm like, are we gonna have to deal with some sort of tension, sexual tension or something? And no, not really. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not against that, but sometimes I am. I'm like, come on, let's see something new. Let's see some fucking people connecting on a human level, you
Let's
know?
see some platonic relationships for once in our life.
Some hot, hot platonic action.
A hearty handshake.
Well, there was that one moment because they're lying next to each other, and she's like, "Oh, let's just go to sleep or whatever," and she falls asleep. And then he reaches over, but to put his coat over her or something like that. And that was the only moment where I'm like, "Oh shit, all right." Let's see here. Back in the okay, so let's get back to the valley where that dude, Kuratawa, Kuratawa, he's overlooking, and the giant, and he's got his eyes open. It's so
The giant does.
the giant has its eyes
Yeah.
open.
Just like continuing to grow, looking grosser and creepier than ever.
Yeah, the
So
bad
far.
guys, right? Jesus. So they show up. The bad guys show up. They're like, "Hey, the princess is our princess, Kashana. All their planes are shot down." And he's like, maybe that maybe fortune's smiling on me." Uh, so they say, "Okay, don't tell the villagers of the valley what's happening." And then Lord Yupa is summoned and told that Kashana and the others are on Acid Lake. They're in that abandoned ship or whatever. That's where Kashana is talking to them, and she removes her hand, and she says something about like, "Oh,
Yeah,
my
I wrote
feet."
it down.
What is it?
Whoever becomes my husband will see worse than that.
So that means, okay, when I first heard it, I was like, so if your husband, if someone marries you, they're gonna get their hand removed plus something else. But what it means is I'm gonna lay in bed with him, and he's gonna have to see
Yeah,
my scar riddled body.
yeah, I think so. Or
All right.
her robo crotch, or something like that. That's how I took it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
both of her legs are bionic, and
I
only
didn't
one of
notice
her
that.
arms. Yeah, like later on, she's like crawling up this cliff with like three of her limbs are like metal, and like only one arm is like human flesh.
Wow. Wow. You pay attention to the women's bodies way more than I didn't notice any of that. Oh man. Okay. So, they're told in the village, they're like, oh shit, some spores survived. We missed some. I wonder why. Was it just like, oh, we didn't
I
do a
think
good
it's
job?
they when the occupying army was there, they took all their tools and fire and stuff away from them, so they weren't able to do their normal sport patrol. So
Yeah.
then um enough time had passed without them being able to do a good job of that section of the forest was infested,
Yeah,
both.
the villagers they plead with the bad guys. They're like, please give us our weapons and our tools. We have to get rid of this. And even Obaba is like, oh, it's too late. Isn't she kind of like, oh, this is
Yeah,
bad? Yeah.
yeah, because they like trees that are like 3 or 4 trees away, they like cut at the roots and there's like the fungus in it.
Yeah. So they're just gonna start burning all that stuff. Kashana gets out of her binds while they're distracted. So now finally, Nausicaa and Espel discover Pajit in ruins and surrounded by dead bugs. This was fucked up.
Dead bugs, broken machines, crumbled buildings. Yeah.
It weirds me out when bugs are dead, but they're clinging to the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just gross. I hate seeing that if I ever see it. And these things were huge, man. So yeah, Spell's like, holy shit, they even destroyed the Great Dome or whatever. But his friends show up on the plane, and they have a I this is where it kind of gets murky because do they reveal why the bugs attacked or what their plan is? I don't remember. I just know that Nausicaa's like, oh my God.
Yeah, they reveal their future plan, which is to basically attack the Tolmekians by provoking the insects to attack the valley.
Right. Okay. Yeah. They don't reveal why or how, because that's later revealed by the injured
Right,
baby,
yeah, they don't
right?
know
Okay.
how they're going to provoke the insects, but just that they're going to do it.
Yeah, and Nausicaa tries to escape. Aspel takes a gun from them, but he gets knocked out from behind, man.
Hmm.
Uh,
Coward's way.
I don't know, it works for me every time. Kashana is climbing around the valley to see her soldiers being fought by the villagers. Okay, so now this is
That's
a
where
big.
she clearly has 3 gold
I'll ha
appendages.
I'll have to look. Yeah, I would watch this a third time. Yeah, I like this movie. Um, so yeah, now the villagers are trying to overtake their captives. They get into the tank. I think it's those three funny old men, I
Yeah,
think,
I
right?
think so too.
Because the one guy's like, oh, my goddamn back's going out again. So
Oh, my
villager
sciatica.
the villagers take everyone. They're like, hey, we got to go to Acid Lake. Which really, until it happens, I didn't know it was. actually acid.
Ah, I thought it was just a cool name.
Yeah, it's where we go drop acid, man. It's fucking great. Yeah, that's when Kashana arrives, and so Katana or Kotiyama, he's like, ah, well, easy come, easy go. Like uh Nausicaa is set free by Lestelle's mother and Aspel's mother. Yeah, the in that plane, she's like, oh, the my son told me everything and shit. So they try and let her escape. Meanwhile, they're being attacked by another plane,
But yeah,
and
they they gave her different clothing so she would just look like one of their people. Um, yeah, I don't even know who that girl was that swapped with her, but just some one of their people, I guess.
clearly someone with low self-esteem. She's like, no, it's fine. I'll be a prisoner. Fuck it, man. So, anyways, the plane is being attacked by another one and then boarded. There is a quick moment where
Very erotically,
yes.
as
Uh,
they well, yeah, like they um go into this cloud cover to try and get away, but it's full of wind and lightning, as they say, and they have to come out, and then yeah, basically they corner them between like that lightning storm, and just yeah, that's when yeah they get mounted.
when they have to emerge out of that cloud again, that it shows like the wind going by, the gray wind. That's such an awesome shot. There's so many it's not just the illustrations, but like the direction. Like this is a great director. Like he makes a lot of good decisions that I probably never would have thought of to kind of tell a story and shit. Ah, so good. But so they're being mounted, they're sword fighting, but then Lord Yupa leaps out of the fucking flight right into the hole and
Oh
sword
yeah,
fights everyone. That's crazy.
he has like a
Uh
dagger and a sword, and um takes everyone down.
okay, so Kashana and Koratawa, they have basically everyone surrounded in that abandoned ship on Acid Lake. They've got their tanks and stuff. And Kashana's trying to talk to the old men, those old men. She's like, "Will you sign with me and attack? We're on the winning side." And they're like, "You're a princess like our princess, but you're nowhere near her, or she's better." I don't know.
Yeah,
They're just
you're
like,
nothing like her.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like he's like, "Look at these hands. It has that fucking spore disease on it, and I'm gonna die in like 6 months, and I still don't want to work for you," or something like that. Like, yeah. Yeah, because they just praised the princess. They're like, the princess said I had good hands. They were working hands. And like
Hmm.
they're still
Yeah,
singing
like
her
they're beautiful
praise.
working man's hands or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so weird because Shauna actually just like, okay, fine, let them go. Like we're still gonna attack them and probably still kill them, but yeah, let them go. I wonder if that just got to her, you know?
Hmm.
Because she was so pissed off when Nausicaa said, "Oh, you're a foxy cat" or whatever. And she was so full of rage, but now she's like, oh shit, these old men just dissed me to my face.
Maybe I am a scared fox squirrel.
uh oh, so this is a weird thing. um Kashana, she sets them free, and then she's like, hey, uh tell the soldiers to eat because we have war in an hour. So odd.
Yeah,
And
I mean, is it because war is like swimming? And if you did it less than an hour, they'd get stomach cramps.
she certainly doesn't wait, right? uh Okay, so, but like, isn't that weird? Like, hey, you might all die soon. Eat something. I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to eat. Maybe I don't have the stomach for it. Because I'd be fucked up to see like the burger you ate spilling out of your body.
You need the energy though, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Um. Okay, and then Obaba wants to go outside. Outside, she's like, the wind stopped. It's really weird, and there's rage in the sky.
I'm like, can we
So
still call this the Valley of the Wind in
yeah,
these
really.
conditions?
Oh my gosh, Obama uh campaigned hard to get it changed to something else. I don't know.
Freedom Valley.
Yeah, damn it. So this is kind of a cool thing. Mito and Nausicaa, they're flying over, and then they see like all this red on the ground. Like, what the hell is that? It's waves upon waves of
So many
ohms.
ohms.
Ohms. And so this is where they're like, oh, what's happening? They're what's there up ahead? There's another plane. They're leading them, and it's the Pajit, right? That have the baby injured and stuff.
Yeah, it must be because then like later on, the one guy recognizes the like the dress and thinks that that's Lestel.
That's what that. Okay, that's what that was. Someone online said the blood from the baby Om
Well, that's
inked
later.
her. Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, so that's because yeah, her dress is like pink, but then like when she's like on the ground with the baby ohm and like it's like pushing her into the acid lake, you can see the dress like changing color then.
oh shit. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was really confused by that the last time I saw it because like she was always like wearing blue, right? And then like she switched her the she traded dresses with that girl. But then like by the end of the movie she was wearing blue again. I'm like, is that like a continuity error? Like I
That's
was
good.
actually confused by it. But yeah, then this time I noticed that happening.
So let's see here. Oh, she says, don't shoot down. Don't kill the baby, otherwise they'll never stop rampaging. And this is where Kashana decides to attack now. She's like, oh, why wait? And so Mito arrives, but Mito arrives, and even Kashana says, hold your fire. And he's like, okay, there's a bunch of ohms heading this way, and that's why she wants to set the giant free. Even Katawa, fuck, these names are so hard. But he's like, that's isn't it a little early? You know?
Yeah, like our monster's not quite baked yet. Yeah, if not now, then when? She says.
Yeah, yeah. So Nausicaa is trying to communicate with the Bajit. She doesn't
But
have
yeah,
any
like
weapons.
it was pretty cool how she like just ripped a part off of the plane and then used that to like what do you call that? Like a zip cord kind of thing
Yeah.
down to her glider and like jumps onto it, detaches it, and she's on her way.
I wonder if people, reviewers of today, those assholes, would be like, "Oh, this is woke." Mary Sue, shit like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Ah, it's horrible. Um, so anyways, she's flying around then in her glider and she doesn't have a weapon, but she's trying to communicate. The
Hmm.
Pachit are trying to fire at her, and even the other guy's like, no, she's trying to talk to us. Maybe we should hear her out or whatever. Um,
And luckily, it was the guy with the gun who had the change of heart and not the other guy.
well, not too much because they go straight ahead and she stands up or she leaps off the glider, right? Like, and gets shot in the process,
That's true.
lands in
Yeah.
their ship. Yeah.
Yep.
And thank God they fell on the beach, not on the actual lake of acid. Jesus, that was crazy. So yeah, she's trying to stop the baby Ohm, and he, doesn't know any better. It's a baby, and she's getting pushed into the lake, and it burns her fucking heel. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, that was nuts. So then the baby's like, "Oh, what feelers?" Takes out its feelers, and like, "What's going on with that? That looks like a wound. You saved me," and shit like that. And I think she even kind of like hugs the feelers.
Yeah. And like that's the point where her clothes change color, in accordance with the prophecy that they were wearing blue.
Next, Nausicaa to take over the Pajit little ship. She has the entire Gatling gun. that giant gun.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was so cool. Okay, so now the bugs are coming, the ohms are coming, and the Talmekia, the bad guys, they start to retreat. They want to retreat, but but Kashana shows up with the giant. With this giant, it's
Like
way too early.
it's melty and oozy and yeah.
I was so grossed out by this. I was disturbed by it because I'm like, it's a baby. We have a baby here. There's a baby over there, the baby ohm, you
Yeah.
know? Ugh. It just was so gross. The baby's able to fire and it blows up a lot of ohms pretty quickly, but
Yeah,
not
like
as
has
much
like
as,
a giant laser breath kind of thing,
yeah,
but it's like a beam. And yeah,
yeah.
they're like, oh, that's why there was so much fire in those days.
So yeah, the giant just falls apart. It's so gross. Like I was, so disturbing. I hated that whole part.
Yeah,
Ugh. So Nausicaa, she arrives with the baby and the ohms, but then the ohms rush past them. She gets fucking hurled up into the sky. And at that point, I'm like, oh, well, they could have killed the baby ohm as well. They were just like
right.
rushing by, but
In the rage.
yeah, but they slow down. And then the red goes to blue, right? Which
Yeah.
means they're calm.
Yeah, but it like comes it you see it like a patch of blue starting in the middle and then working its way outward. So, um, presumably from where they notice the baby is safe or where they notice Nausicaa. It's hard to say.
Yeah, don't bugs communicate that way anyways? Like I know like ants and bees
Yeah,
can send
with like
signals to each other.
pheromones and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, they're surrounding the baby Ohm and then the presumed dead Nausicaa.
Yeah. Obaba says she calmed them with her own life.
Yeah.
Another thing Obaba said earlier was um, they were saying like, well, this giant didn't do enough, and she's like, if it, she said something to the effect of like, is it worth living in a place where that's our only hope, or
Oh,
something like that?
yeah. Yeah,
Like
because they're
it,
like, oh, the baby or the giant's dead. She's like, yeah, probably for the best.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Um, so yeah, the Ohm puts out its feelers onto Nausicaa and raises it up, and then soon the rest surrounding him raises it up, and they start to heal her wounds. And
Yeah,
soon she's alive and in blue and in a
in a
field of
field of
gold.
yellow.
Yeah. And that's when Obaba is like, holy shit, it's real? The legend's real? That's cool. It is funny though that they cut or they dissolve an image from the tapestry or whatever, and it's a man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with like a bird on his shoulder.
Is that what it? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that fox squirrel. Sh Like I was like, will I love this thing? Will it be annoying? But it's just kind of there, you know? Like it doesn't help. It never has that one moment where like, thank God you had a fox squirrel.
Yeah, like it kind of leads Yupa, is that his name?
Yeah.
Uh to her like secret um laboratory. But yeah, that's really the only thing semi-useful it does as far as I know.
Yeah, that's because that fox squirrel just wanted to it was like a
Yeah.
cat. If you close the door on
Right.
the cat's just like, meow.
Yeah. It's kind of like the pig in Moana.
What?
Like,
Moana. Have I seen that? Is that Disney
yeah, it's Disney.
with like The Rock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never saw it.
Okay, cut this out.
But but again with the fox squirrel was like when they're at that secret garden and she's like confiding in the Yupa or whatever, she's like, I'm terrified of what I'll do. While she's having that scene, the fox squirrel's like in her hair and just like looking around. Where it's like, that's what an actual animal would do. It's not picking up on, oh, this is not the
Right.
time, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, I think I do like that character. I just, for some reason, I figured they would Americanize it, like, oh, this is a wacky character with the voice of Eddie Murphy or some shit. But yeah, the Ohms return to the forest. The credits show Kashana and Tomekia heading back. Plants grow in the petrified forest. That's the last shot. The underneath part, a single plant grows. The
Out of a
end.
mask.
Oh yeah, that's right. Kind of dirty bacteria she left in her mask. Yeah, that was the end. Um, when you found this movie, I mean, you said it was just because you were a completionist. Was this like through a marathon of watching these things or
Yeah, so I first learned about him as a director, I don't know, like 10 years ago. And then um yeah, just kind of watched I, like whichever one I happened to see first, like Totoro or Spirited Away or one of those. And then I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then I just yeah went back and watched them in order then from that point.
oh, in order? And this is number one, right? Or
Yeah, it's the first one he wrote, second he ever directed.
wow, that's cool. Uh
But yeah, I know I'd say I don't like to rate or rank things, but this is definitely amongst my favorite of his. So I'm glad that it happened to be an anniversary year for it.
yes, me too. I mean, I wish it wasn't 40 years, but I couldn't have been 20. 20. I'd settle for 30 at this point. Uh, yeah, that was the movie. Wonderful. Like if you're anyone out there love great drawings, great illustrations. I am curious about listening to the American or the dubbed version.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I actually want to watch it. I think next time I watch it, I'll watch it with the like the Disney dubs.
Yeah.
Because overall, like they've done a lot of his movies, if not all of them, possibly. And I think there's a couple that are like mediocre, but most of them are thought to be quite good.
Uh, shit. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said though, the performance. I even like Obaba's voice performance. Kotoro's performance. The wise ass. I don't know. He was great. And of course, the lead. Like, yeah, I just love this movie so much. I want to buy a poster or something, but that I don't know if I like that poster. What you got there in your background, man. It's misleading.
Yeah, and it's um I honestly I didn't even realize it was that was like an official poster when I pulled it down there because the artwork is different from what's actually in the movie.
Well, is she okay? She's wearing these giant hooker boots with gray shorts that's just above the knee, maybe? Is that what she's wearing? And then a blue shirt. Yeah. See, yeah, I never paid attention to what she was wearing. And a utility belt of some sort. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well,
very practical.
yeah, man. Uh, well, that's it. Any closing remarks?
Um, can't go wrong with any of his movies.
Yeah.
That's all I say. Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, well, I'll probably watch another one of these days. But until then, like, subscribe, comment, go to my movierecollection.com. I was Vincent Cloud.
Give us a 5-star rating and review on all the podcast places. I was John Nemitz.